Today we're going to be having a look at finding the equation of a line. And we're going to look at two different ones. In the first one we have got 2 points, and in the second one we've got the 2 intercepts. And the goal for both of these is going to be find it in both the forms we know, y equals mx plus c, but also in the form of ax plus by plus c equals 0. So we're going to be looking at for both of those. So the first thing to do is to find the gradient of both of these lines. Now we can see from this one, because it is pointing up to the right, that it is going to have a positive gradient, a positive m value. So we can write that as m bigger than 0. And for the second one, we can see that the line is pointing down to the right, which means that the gradient is going to be less than 0. It's going to be negative. So let's calculate the gradient. So the gradient's quite easy to calculate. It's the change in y over the change in x. And we can visually see it by just counting the spaces that have gone up. So the change in y, well, it's gone up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the change in y is 6, and the change in x is 1 to the right, 2 to the right, 3 to the right, 4 to the right. So 6 over 4. And so then the gradient would be 3 over 2. However, there's other ways you could do it instead. That's one particular way of doing it. Another way we can do it is by using the change formula. Alrighty, so 2 and negative 4. So the difference between 2 and negative 4 is 2 minus negative 4. And the difference between 3 and negative 1 is going to be 3 minus negative 1. And we get, oh, hey, exactly the same thing. 2 minus negative 4, 6. 3 minus negative 1, 4. And we end up with 3 on 2 regardless. Doesn't matter which way we go about doing it. So we're half solved of the mx plus c form, right? Y is equal to mx plus c. We already know what m is. M is 3 on 2. The thing we don't know is c. Now we can almost spot c, because remember, c is just the spot where it hits the y-intercept. But as you can see, it's a bit hard to see exactly, so we're going to solve for it algebraically. And the way we do that is we're going to sub in the point. We're going to sub x, y is equal to one of the points. Now it's your choice which point you use. You could use 3, 2, or you could use negative 1, negative 4. I'd choose your favorite point. In this case, 3, 2 is my favorite point, so I'm going to substitute in 3, 2, just because the numbers are slightly easier. And we get, well, instead of y, I've got 2, and instead of x, I've got 3. So 2 equals 3 on 2 times 3 plus c. 2 is equal to 3 on 2 times 3. Well, 3 is really 3 on 1. 3 times 3 is 9. 2 times 1 is 2 plus c. Subtract 9 on 2 from both sides. Two minus 9 on 2 is equal to c. Now some of you might look at this and get a little bit scared, but I promise you fractions are not that hard. I need them both to be over 2, so I'm going to rewrite 2 as 4 on 2, because it's the same as 4 halves. And now I could just subtract, so we get negative 5 on 2 is equal to c. And so my final equation is y is equal to 3 on 2x minus 5 on 2. But remember, I also wanted to write it in the general form, which means I need to move everything to one side of the equation. Now, since I've already got x and c on this side, why not just move y to the other side? So I'm going to do that. So let's subtract y from both sides, and I'm left with 0 is equal to 3 on 2x minus y minus 5 on 2. However, we can do one better. Notice that both of these have an on 2 on them. How do we get rid of that? Well, on 2 is gotten rid of by multiplying by 2. So I can multiply both sides by 2. Left-hand side's not very exciting, but I can multiply both sides by 2. Now, when I do it on the right-hand side, I have to expand the brackets. 3 on 2 times 2 is just 3x. I'm going to get minus 2y and minus 5. And there it is in general form. Let's have a look at the other one. So in this case, we've got the two intercepts. Let's start off by calculating the gradient. M is equal to delta y on delta x. In this case, it's gone 1, 2, 3, 4 down. So minus 4 for the change and 2 to the right. So it's negative 4 on 2, which is just negative 2. And the y-intercept is just 4. And we're done. Y is equal to negative 2x plus 4. Where am I getting the y is equal to 4? Well, remember, the y-intercept is c. So, since my y-intercept is 4, that's going to be my c value. I don't have to do any more working out. We can double check by working out the y-intercept, but you do not need to. And once again, let's rearrange this for the general form. So let's subtract y from both sides. And we are left with 0 is equal to negative 2x minus y plus 4. And we are finished. So we figured out both of our equations. And we can just double check some of those things we thought at the beginning, right? We knew that the gradient should be positive in the first one. And indeed, the gradient was positive in this first one. We thought that the gradient should be negative in the second one, and indeed the gradient was negative in the second one. So, good to just check your working out as you go. See you in the next one. Goodbye.